Alright, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Lantern Year 4 of our Kingdom Death Monster campaign. This year we'll be shown down with the Butcher, our first nemesis encounter, and this nemesis particularly is just kind of a brutal encounter. I've had some time to think. I think we're going to give it our best shot, go in with our best survivors, which will be our top 4 guys, and we'll put our best against Kingdom Death's best. So, before we get started, last week we didn't end up spending any resources, ended up putting them on to settlement storage. But what I forgot was that Alistair's bone axe was broken on a super dense location against the Screaming Antelope. So I'm going to go into our stash and I'm going to take out an organ and a great cat bone. So it'll be a beast steak and a great cat bone to craft a new bone axe for Alistair to use, because he's going to need a weapon like that against the Butcher for sure. So pending that, I probably won't do that on camera, but let's head over and take a look at our survivors. Alright, well, before we get going this week, I actually wanted to take a minute to talk about our nemesis encounter with the Butcher. So last week's video was a little bit rushed. We didn't really discuss it at the end, so we're going to take the opportunity to discuss it here. So the Butcher is this vicious monster that actually attacks the survivors in their settlement. So his description, there once was a man who could not hide his fear. He wore a mask that transformed his cowardice to rage. In turn, the man transformed into a monster. All that remained was a devouring fury that stalked the night, collecting the fearful faces of others. So he is a nemesis, meaning that we don't have a choice. We have to fight him. Departing survivors do not have a hunt phase. Instead, we just select the Butcher's monster level, and it needs to be 1 greater than the last encounter, and then set up the showdown board accordingly. So this guy literally kills the survivors, cuts their faces off, and stretches them over his lanterns. Absolutely wild. Okay, so since we kind of did the background on that, let's move forward with our survivors. Well, here's where we put our money where our mouth is. We've decided to put our best against the Butcher. So starting things off, we have Alistair here. He's rocking the full set of rawhide gear, which gets him that armor bonus that we've discussed a few times, plus 1 armor to every location as well. We've built him a new bone axe so that he'll be taking that back into the fight. And then because his rawhide vest is connected, he actually gains that plus 1 evasion token. So we'll be sure to get that out. The stone noses, on arrival, he gains a survival and an insanity. So that could be good as well. And then he has the strategist fighting art, which means we can bring a giant stone face into the showdown during setup. After Alistair, we'll talk about Barathor here, who is another one of our, not day 1 survivors, but he's definitely been with us for most of this campaign. He's rocking 3 pieces of leather armor, which give him 3 armor to his arms, body, and waist. He also has a monster grease here, which gets him plus 1 evasion. He's got stone noses as well, and then a bone blade, which is not quite as good as the bone axe, but it's cheaper to make. He has the rhythm chaser fighting art. On arrival, gain 1 evasion token. When you are knocked down, if you don't have an instrument in your gear grid, remove all of your plus 1 evasion tokens. So he'll get plus 1 evasion until he gets knocked down. Since we don't have an instrument, he'll lose that. That brings us to our survivor who might struggle the most for us today. This will be Urza. She's one of our day 1 survivors, and she's working on her fist and tooth weapon proficiency. She also has this, she has the White Lion gauntlets and helm, which give her 2 armor to her head and her arms, 1 to her waist, and she has stone noses. She has the Monster Claw style fighting art, which means her fist and tooth attack gains plus 1 accuracy, plus 1 strength, and savage. And last up for our survivors today is Bubbles. Bubbles joined us for her first hunt last lantern year, but she was quite possibly the MVP of that showdown. She landed the majority of hits with her bow, so hopefully her luck didn't run out, and she'll be able to handle this butcher as well. She has the clawhead arrow, the catgut bow, and a piece of regular cloth. She also happened to draw monster claw style, so her fist and tooth attack gains +1 accuracy, +1 strength, and savage, which will mostly be relying on her shooting the catgut bow, but if something happens where she has to be attacking with a melee weapon, now she can attack with her hands and still stand a chance. Okay, so to get things started here, we've made the Butcher's AI deck. This is the leftovers, which gives him a total of 15 health points, which is the biggest encounter we've had yet. He's also got a lot of traits that start in play, so we're going to go over those one at a time here. He starts with Dreaded Trophies, which is a trait. When a survivor dies, place their miniature on this card. The monster gains the following bonuses for each miniature on Dreaded Trophies. So the more survivors he kills, the stronger he gets. He then has Berserker. This one's pretty simple. Draw +1 AI every monster turn. So he'll actually draw 2 every turn. And then Fast Target is another trait that I think works in favor of the survivors. At the beginning of each monster turn, reshuffle the Butcher's hit location deck. So that one's kind of interesting. And then each of our survivors gains an Infectious Lunacy card. When you suffer brain damage, gain lunacy tokens equal to the damage suffered. When you have 3+ lunacy tokens, remove them all and suffer the frenzy brain trauma, which we actually saw a little bit of that last lantern year. So I'm going to hand those cards out to everybody. Let's go ahead and shuffle his hit locations here real quick. Very small deck of hit locations, which means, just means you're going to pull the trap more often. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Let's go 3, 1, 2, 4. Okay, we'll set those over there. Get our survivors on the board, tally up their insanity, and we'll get going. So one of the cool things about nemesis encounters is that the survivors actually get to go first because they're defending their home. So I've given everybody their +1 evasion tokens that needed it. We've updated survival and insanity. Alistair will start with 3 survival and 4 insanity. Barathor will have 3 survival and 5 insanity. Bubbles will have 2 survival and 4 insanity. Urza will have 3 survival and 1 insanity. That will be much easier to keep track of this game. Because he deals a lot in brain damage. Brain damage and bleeds are the Butcher's go-tos. So we're going to start things off and have Bubbles move forward 1, 2, 3, spend her activation to climb on up 4 onto that giant stone face. And then Urza is going to search this ore tile, which our terrain for this round is a giant stone face, which we brought in because of strategist, 3 stone columns, which come standard with the Butcher, and then the ore vein, which was our random terrain. So she's going to search that ore tile here, which is just 1d10, and it's just rolling on the table. A 10. Good way to start things off. So the ore vein 10 is just 4 through 12. Find something shiny, gain an iron strange resource. Awesome. Those will come in super handy later on. So she's searched that, so now we're going to move her up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This goes away. And then here with these 2 yo-hos, we'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't want multiple guys to get attacked, but I definitely don't want Bubbles to be the one that's attacked. So that's the end of the survivor's turn. Let's go ahead and move on to the monster. Man, that AI deck is huge. His first card is Lantern Frenzy. It's a mood. When Lantern Frenzy comes into play, a random survivor gains the priority target token. It cannot be removed for any reason. A random survivor, huh? That is rough. I don't love that, but Barathor kind of has the most armor, so let's go ahead and give that to Barathor. So I'll slip that priority target token under Barathor. There's more to this card, though. While Lantern Frenzy is in play, the Butcher gains +2 movement and +1 speed token. Anytime the survivor with the priority target token may sacrifice themselves and lead the Butcher far away. They perish and their gear is archived, which means we do not get it back. End the showdown immediately and skip the aftermath. Oof. Discard Lantern Frenzy if the survivor with the priority target token is killed. So that is particularly rough. Let's get that +1 speed token. I guess we'll kind of have to play this by ear. And if it looks like Barathor is going to die, we're going to have to sacrifice him. So he still has 2 AI to draw, I believe. Another mood, Screaming. When Screaming comes into play, all non-deaf survivors suffer 1 brain damage. At the start of the Butcher's turn, all non-deaf survivors suffer a brain damage per monster level. Discard Screaming if a survivor dies. So that's another mood. Let's go ahead and get that brain damage taken care of right now. So everybody loses 1 insanity, which is nothing too serious yet. They do all gain 1 token onto their Infectious Lunacy cards. If they score a total of 3, then they suffer the Frenzy Brain Trauma. And he still has 1 more AI card to draw because of Berserker, which is draw +1 every turn. And that is Butcher's Roar. Wow, going after our brains. So this targets all non-deaf survivors. Intimidate all targets. Roll 1d10 for each target. On a result of 4+, the target suffers a brain damage per monster level and is knocked down. We don't have any deaf survivors, so he will target them 1 at a time to suffer some brain damage. So we'll start things off with Alistair. A 7, so he suffers that brain damage and is knocked down. So that puts him at 2 insanity. But he gets that second Infectious Lunacy token. Let's go to Barathor. 3, nice. Barathor stays on his feet. And then to Urza. 10, big hit for Urza. So Urza, that's a light. So that fills in her insanity box anyways. She gains that Infectious Lunacy token and is knocked down. Isn't it funny that priority target's the only one still standing? And then for Bubbles. A 2. Bubbles also stays on her feet. Okay, that's the end of the Butcher's first turn. Pass it back over to the survivors. And we're going to have Urza shoot her Clawhead arrow from on top of the giant stone face. So the Clawhead arrow has an accuracy of 6+, but because she's on the giant stone face, she'll be hitting on 4s or better. Oh, jumped out of the die tower there. A 5. So she scores the hit, which is the biggest part of the Clawhead arrow because that gets the Butcher a -1 evasion token. So he'll be easier to hit in the future. That is a 1-time use, however. So we'll flip that in the gear grid so we know we used it, and draw a hit location for that. Thick Cape. The butcher's cape is decorated with the shriveled, screaming faces of its victims. Reflex. Attacker rolls a d10 if it's greater than their courage, yada yada. Let's try to wound first. So the butcher has a toughness of 9, but the arrow has a strength of 6, so she will be inflicting a wound on 3s or better. A 6. A solid wound. Removes an AI. But now we have to deal with this reflex. Attacker rolls 1d10 if the result is greater than their courage. They suffer damage equal to monster level, which is just 1. But Bubbles has a courage of 1. So if it's anything over a 1, she suffers that damage. An 8. So Bubbles will suffer 1 brain damage, which brings her down to 2. And gain that infectious lunacy token. Jeez, he really is cleaning up on him already. So now we move to Barathor, who's our priority target. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what I think I'm going to have him do first is spend a survival to encourage Alistair to his feet, and then we'll get in there and attack with him real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Attack from the side. So he's attacking with the Bone Blade, which has an accuracy of 6+. So looking for some 6s. 7 and a 10. 2 hit locations. Furious Gut and Furious Vambraces. Let's go after Furious Gut first. This has an awesome wound. However, the Bone Blade only has a strength of 2. And Barathor doesn't have any permanent strength. So he'll only be hitting on 7s or better here. Yikes. That's not great. 7+. 2. Way off. So we don't get the wound, but we do now have to trigger the failure. Perform basic action targeting the attacker. Yikes. So he will turn to Barathor. And because of that +1 speed, the Butcher's basic attack is now 3, 4, 1. So he's rolling 3 dice against Barathor. And because of Barathor's evasion, he'll be hitting on 5s or better. Wow, how about that? 5, 6, 8. 3 hits. Okay, let's find where each of those hits go. Body, body, arms. So 2 to Barathor's body, which brings him down to 1 in the body, and then 1 to the arms, which leaves him with 2. He does, however, gain a bleed token. That's the Butcher's MO. As he bleeds you out, and that's the end of each basic attack. The target gains +1 bleed. So that wasn't necessarily a success by any means, but let's try and jump in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nice. We can get in the blind spot with Alistair, who's using the bone axe. With that accuracy from the blind spot, he'll be hitting on 5s or better here. 2 and a 4. So 2 misses there. Let's spend Alistair's survival. So we're going to spend 1, but we're going to roll because of his armor set. If he gets a 6+, he gets to keep it. 7. He does get to keep that survival. So a free encourage for Urza. Urza's going to jump in. 1, 2, 3, 4. She's attacking with Fist and Tooth, which actually may not be such a horrible hindrance this game, because he has such a high strength anyways that it's basically a crit to hit. So Urza's attacking with Fist and Tooth. I had to go grab the chart to make sure that I remembered the stats for Fist and Tooth. So she'll be rolling 2 dice, hitting on 8 or better. And because she has Monster Claw, she'll be hitting on 6 or better. Or 7 or better. 1 and a 3. Yucky. Okay. That is the end of the survivor's turn. And then because of screaming, the mood, at the start of the butcher's turn, all non-death survivors suffer 1 brain damage per monster level. So that is horrible. So we'll start with Alistair. That brings him down to 2 insanity, or 1 insanity, sorry. But that's his 3rd infectious lunacy token. So he removes them all and suffers the frenzy brain trauma. So let's flip over to that brain trauma chart. So the frenzy brain trauma, gain 1 D5 insanity. So we roll this, cut it in half, rounding up. So that's 5 insanity for Alistair. And he gains +1 speed, +1 strength, but he can no longer spend survival. So a temporary speed and a temporary strength puts him in a pretty strong spot. I mean, he's looking particularly tough. Can't use weapon specialization or weapon mastery. That's fine, because he's not either. Moving down the line, we then go to Barathor, who takes a brain damage, but that only brings him to 3 insanity, and that's only his 2nd token. But Urza is going to be our problem, because that is a roll on the severe brain trauma chart for Urza, and then she has to suffer frenzy. So let's roll on that brain trauma real quick. Let's grab the death die for it. Alright, so rolling on that brain trauma chart. A 9. A 9 on there is new perspective. You're knocked down, gain 1 D10 insanity. So she'll be knocked down. Gain a D10 of insanity. My heavens. A 5. That's pretty middle of the road. I like that. So 5 insanity. But she gains +1 temporary speed and temporary strength. But she can no longer use her fighting arts, which is that Monster Claw style. So that's a little unfortunate. And she has to gain a D5 of insanity, which is another 5 insanity. Okay, so she is right insane at 10. And then Bubbles. Bubbles is our last one here. So Bubbles still has 2 insanity. She'll lose that. She'll drop down to 1. But that will be her 3rd infectious lunacy as well. So she will suffer the frenzy brain trauma, which means she gets that speed, that strength, and then rolls for a D5 of insanity. So 2 there. 1. 1. 1 insanity. Puts her at 2. I think that's right. Yeah. I should be right. Okay. So that was just the very first thing we have to do because of moods for the Butcher. So now he actually draws his first AI for this turn, and that's Wild Carve. So he'll go after Barathor because he's priority target. And then he'll go ahead and attack him. So it's 3 dice. Yikes. And he's hitting him on, so pretty much 5+ because of his evasion token. 6, 8, 8. Man, it'd be nice if I could roll that way. So 3 hits. Where does he take those hits? Legs, body, and arm. 1 of each for Barathor. So arms, body, and a light hit on the legs. I mean, I guess we'll take all 3 of them and save our survival. He does, however, gain another bleed, which puts him at 2 bleeding tokens. Keep in mind, if Barathor's going to die, we're just going to sacrifice him, to end this showdown early because the Butcher drew some unfortunate AI cards to start, so he's a little OP right now. Let's draw his second card of the turn. Hack City. This is worst case scenario here. We could lose Barathor right here and not have the option to run away. This is bad news. So Hack City is closest threat facing. It doesn't matter. He's going after Barathor. Move and attack. So this will now have 5 speed because of the +1 speed token from the Butcher. So it'll have 5 speed. Oh, dang it. Drop that die. Okay. So 5 speed, accuracy of 5 plus 1 damage. But for each hit, make an additional attack roll. Continue to roll until all attack rolls are misses. So this is a savage attack. We want a lot of under 5s here. And we don't really get them. So this 3 is a miss. And we're gonna do it early. We're gonna spend a Barathor survival to dodge, and it doesn't matter which one. We'll dodge this one, so that it's now 3 hits. Okay, so 3 damage. Where's Barathor taking them? Legs, waist, waist. I think that was a good case scenario. So 2 to the waist, 1 to his legs. All right, sorry, camera overheated and died there. Not a great time for it too. But we were resolving Hack City, and the 3 hits, 2 to the waist, 1 to the body. The 1 to his legs is a heavy hit, which knocks him down, and he can no longer use Rhythm Chaser. So he's knocked down. We have to get rid of that evasion token, kind of a bummer, but the attack continues. So it continues on with these 3 dice, and I mean, we have to get them under 4 or they continue to be a hit. A 3, okay, there's 1 less. So this is 2 damage. As long as we stay away from the legs. Ouch, 2 to the body isn't great either though. It's a heavy hit to his body. Let's continue rolling those 2 dice. A 2 and a 6, excellent. We might survive this. 1 die to his body. Oh no. That takes us over to the severe injury table. Okay, we'll be rolling a D10 for a severe injury to the chest. 6. Yikes, that's not very good. Disemboweled. Your movement is reduced to 1. Gain a bleeding token. Skip the next hunt. Jeez. That's gross. Does he gain a bleed? Yeah, obviously. Gain 1 bleeding token, which puts him up to 3. Okay, and he suffers... We'll give him that disemboweled severe injury. We just need him to live through this attack. Okay, so back at it. He's only got 1, so let's see what we can do. 3, that's a miss, which is also the end of the Butcher's attack. Wonderful. Okay, so he survived Hack City. If the target survives Hack City, he gets the story event, Legendary Lungs, which, let me take a look at this Lantern Frenzy card. Okay. I'm gonna make the executive decision to avoid a team wipe here. So this Lantern Frenzy says that at any time the survivor with the priority target token may sacrifice themselves to lead the Butcher away. I'm going to make that executive decision. I know that sure might be lame, but we will lose this fight. 100%. We'll lose this to a team wipe. So I'm going to sacrifice Barathor, and he's going to lead the Butcher away and perish. End the showdown immediately, skip the aftermath. So we lose all gear in Barathor's gear grid, and Barathor is now dead. So we skip the aftermath, which means we jump right into our settlement event. And this, I mean, this really just goes to show how brutal the Butcher is. So we'll clean up the showdown board and head over to our settlement event. Okay, so our survivors return to the settlement. The 3 returning survivors still each bring an endeavor with them, but because Barathor died and we have a Graves bonus, we actually get 2 endeavors because of his sacrifice. So we're going to move on to updating our timeline, and that is going to tell us to draw a random settlement event card and resolve it. Hopefully this doesn't make this lantern year any harder on us. Weird Dream. Let's go ahead and read that one. Weird Dream. If you're the only player, a survivor dreams about a giant man that controls their lives from the darkness above. All departing survivors gain 3 insanity. That's kind of funny. I like that. And that was a very mild settlement event. I'd take that one all day. But we do move on now to triggering story events, and we do have a story event this year, Hands of Heat. So we'll flip there. All right, Hands of Heat. The mystery of the lantern's glow. If the settlement already innovated lantern oven, skip this event and roll on lantern branding. I do not believe that we have lantern oven. So otherwise, proceed with the Hands of Heat below. One lucky day, a clumsy accident knocks a lantern free from the towering lantern horde. A sudden flash of heat bathes the survivor as the lantern crashes to the ground. Now shattered, the lantern light dies, but the seed of an idea begins to grow. Nominate a survivor. They gain a courage and experiment with lanterns. All right. So we're going to double down here and give this to Alistair. So Alistair is going to gain a courage and roll on the table below. So let's go roll. 6. 4, 5, 6. The survivor vigorously shakes a lantern and holds it watchfully. It bursts into blue light with a distinct hissing sound. The lantern grows hot in the survivor's clenched hands, burning their flesh. They bellow in primal triumph, gain +1 permanent strength, and the Red Fist secret fighting art. So +1 permanent strength, and then Red Fist. So the Red Fist secret fighting art. At the start of each showdown, each survivor gains +1 strength tokens. Survivors may spend their strength token in place of a survival. Awesome. Our settlement also gains the Lantern Oven innovation. That's sweet. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to reach into our settlement storage. We're going to remove a questionable resource as a hide. We're then going to remove a shank bone as a bone, and that second heart that we acquired when fighting the Screaming Antelope. We're going to spend those 3 items and an endeavor here to innovate. I feel like it's pretty important to innovate as often as we can, and since this year allowed us a free innovation, we're going to double down and get 2 total innovations. So we're going to shuffle these up here. And then because of Symposium, we get to draw 4 and pick 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, those 4. First we have Scarification. Then we have Hovel, Scrap Smelting, and Nightmare Training. Let's just narrow this down to our top 2 real quick, which is between Hovel and Scrap Smelting. Now, I believe once we craft the Weapon Crafter, we can actually special innovate, give some resources up to do this. So to maximize our innovations, we're going to take Hovel. So Hovel ups our survival limit by 1. The settlement accepts this nightmarish landscape as their home. Departing survivors gain +1 survival. So we'll add Hovel to our deck, and then we get to kind of move forward with our settlement phase, which resource-wise, we're still in the same boat, even a little worse than we were before. So we're going to have to spend one of these to get that stone nose back that we lost from Barathor's untimely departure. And then, unfortunately, at this point in time, these 3 are not useless, but not super great. Our population's still okay. We've still got a population of 11, so we don't need to necessarily try to do augury for intimacy. But shared experience is always good. It allows you to give XP to those who possibly don't really have any, and since we're going to need to replace Barathor, I'm going to spend these 3 endeavors at the Lantern Horde to trigger shared experience 3 separate times. So we're going to use Alistair since he has 4 total XP, which I think he should. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think he should technically have 5, right? Because he's gone with us every year, hasn't he? Oh well. He should. I'm pretty sure he should have 5. He does have 5. Okay. So because he has 5, we can do this shared experience with anybody who has less than 3 or less than 3. So we're going to give one to one of our unnamed survivors that's currently named Barristan. He's already got 1 hunt XP, so we're going to give him another. That will trigger age for Barristan. And then we'll give the other 2 to just 2 unnamed female survivors. So we will definitely need some name recommendations in the chat of this video because we need to pull a new survivor in. So let's go ahead and flip over to the age table and take care of age for Barristan. Alright, so we're pretty familiar with the age table. We haven't picked a weapon proficiency for the guy yet, but we're going to go ahead and roll here. 2 dice, add them together for their value to see exactly what he gets. 8. 7 through 10 is 1 random fighting art. So let's get him his random fighting art here. And that is Berserker. So once per showdown, you may spend your activation to suffer Bash and the Frenzy Brain Trauma. I don't know, that one's kind of rough because then you can't use your fighting arts. Okay, that brings us to the end of our settlement phase. We've spent all our endeavors. We don't have anything to develop, so we're kind of on to that prepared departing survivors end of our video this week. Wow, what an absolute smackdown this week. Nothing went our way, really. It looked good off the bat when we stuck that evasion arrow, but quickly turned away from us as soon as the Butcher drew that priority target card that gave him that additional speed, because he's already so tough. Boosting his stats that early in the fight, I mean, just really wasn't going to go the survivor's way. It was tough to lose Barathor. He was going to be an awesome part of the settlement, but his noble sacrifice allowed our other 3 survivors to get away. That did ensure that the 1 iron resource that we gained from that fight made it back to the storage. So, I mean, I guess a pro there. We're done with that nemesis encounter for now. We'll be moving on probably to the Screaming Antelope next week. After that smackdown and losing all that leather armor, we're not in a situation where we could take on a level 2 antelope, so we'll have to kind of go back to square one as far as fighting a level 1 Screaming Antelope, which is okay. We've only fought him once, so we'll get in there, get some more pelt. We'll start crafting a set of Screaming Antelope gear and maybe a little bit of some leather again if we can get there. Other than that, there's a taste of a nemesis encounter, the Butcher, who's just brutal. All nemesis encounters are meant to humble the settlement and the players because they think they're doing good farming these animals, and then the nemesis encounters come in and chop you up. So I thought it was a unique way to end that Butcher fight. Maybe not the best, but if we wouldn't have sacrificed there, Barathor's miniature would have got onto his Deadly Trophies trait card and just would have made him stronger and stronger. We were struggling to get hits, and he was just getting stronger. So, anyways, if you liked this video this week, like, comment, and subscribe. Do all those awesome YouTube things. And if you've got any name advice for this new upcoming Survivor, let's hear it in the comments because we're going to need a new one. So, this is Hits and Crits Gaming. I'm Braden. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.